Alrighty, so spoke to the owner, and he still wants to send the hydraulic cylinder. So we're gonna see what we can find out research-wise about that thing. I'm trying to point him towards rebuilding it rather than buying a new one, because if he didn't want to spend $300 on a new fuel tank, then he probably doesn't want to spend $500 on a new piston. So I'm probably gonna need to pull that thing and see if I can find any info on it. If I can't find a damn thing on it, then we're just gonna have to take dimensions and try and see if we can, back calculate or estimate, anything about it, and or just pull the thing down to brass tacks and just see what we got, and take O-ring measurements from there. Maybe take it to a local hydraulic shop and just see if they can set me up with a rebuild kit. Additionally, on the fuel tank pickup, he's fine with just running it through the gas gauge. He said, don't fool with that, don't drill a new hole in the tank. So I'm going to find a more permanent solution for this, and I think I might have just the thing bouncing around on the old brain box. So here is my current thought, is I can take this thing as a model, pull these screws and get this gasket off of here, and then make a cutout on either this piece of whatever this is, 3/32 stainless steel stock. It's a little bent, and I also cut it off the side of a table, so maybe not that because I need it to seal. This is just some straight 1/8 inch aluminum bar stock, brand new. So I'm thinking cutting a new triangle out of that, rounding the corners, beveling them just to make it all look all nice, like drilling the holes, and then drilling a hole right through the center of that, and then getting a set of brass fittings. Just something that has a 5/16 barb on the top and either a 5/16 barb on the bottom or some kind of threading on the bottom. If I can get a coupler that's, barb on top with, threads coming down the bottom, then I can just run, a nut up to the top of that, seal it, put a little bit of a, gasket maker, some shmoo, or a little bit of gasket material, or maybe even an O-ring. Maybe I can find one that's got O-rings in it, in between it, to seal it off from water. And then on the top, we can just straight plumb some new 5/16 fuel hose from the fuel filter that's there directly onto that barb. Or if it's long enough, I can just hook what's there currently existing. If I really want to, I could have threads coming out of the top and then put, like a 90-degree and then send that over. And then on the underneath, what I would really like to do is to get some 5/16 copper line. This is a piece of steel brake line that I used as a plant stake for several years. So would prefer not to use that. And then that'll be my pickup. I can run that all the way to the bottom, and then of course cut, either a like 30-degree cut slant in the bottom of it, or, like a V cut in it, so that it has a standoff and it never, clogs if it pulls something up into it. So probably should do a V cut or a tri-cut. And then to seal this to the tank itself, we're gonna use some cork gasket material. Don't need to do anything crazy there. And I think that should be perfect, and that should be permanent. The only thing I'm a little worried about is galvanic corrosion between, brass fittings and this aluminum. That would be why I would use stainless over the aluminum, but the aluminum's much easier to work with. And well, this is not the straightest thing. So probably just going to use the aluminum, and we'll just paint it and just pray that we don't have galvanic corrosion, or if there is galvanic corrosion, it's just whatever the fitting is to this aluminum, and then you just throw it out, make a new one. So that's my current thought. So I need to take a trip to Tractor Supply and O'Reilly's and see what the hell they have on offer, or just hop on the old Amazon and pick something up. We'll see. All right, so the last ditch effort, I'm going to fucking pull this piston if I have to, and figure out if there's any kind of model number stamped on it. So the shit I looked up says that it's supposed to have a model number stamped right there. 95% of pistons are supposed to have a model number there. I don't see nothing there. Don't see nothing there. Not seeing anything on the side. There is this hole in the side of the piston. I don't know if that's supposed to be there, but it's definitely there. And yeah, this is my Hail Mary attempt to figure out what this thing is so that I can rebuild it. Because apparently it's stamped on there, and I have no reason to doubt that it's stamped on there. So we shall clean this thing up as best as we can. I got a little bit of gunk, and I got a steel brush. So we'll just clean this sucker up and see what we can find. And my plan is to just disable this whole hydraulic system, just fold this thing back up in there, and yeah, Had to take the trailer hitch off to be able to get this thing all the way up here, but the, factory lock is still there. Sweet baby Jesus, I think I found it. There it is. I can't even tell you everything that it says. It definitely has an HYD 9 in the middle of it. It appears to be another 9 over there on the side. And a COL, or an OOL. Can't really tell. But there is a number. It's down on there. Alright, so with a little bit more digging, it is COL HYD 993, which I'm pretty certain means Columbus Hydraulics, September 1993. So that really doesn't give me anything on, the actual piston. But what the old approximeters and the measuring tape tell me is that this is a 1-inch diameter shaft and a 1 7/8 diameter tube, and that this has a throw at least from here to this weld right here of 15 inches. So I think from that I should be able to figure out what the hell this thing is, and maybe, just maybe, get a rebuild kit. I'm hoping a new piston or a used piston is only like less than $200 though, from what I just quickly saw. So that could be the solution. All right, so I've worked out just jammed a fucking tent pin through there just to keep it in there, and I've kind of got the bed cockeyed and bungeed together, and then I've got a 2x4 here to keep it open. This will buy me time, and I can run it around and move it as need be, and ideally there's not going to be any water getting in there. I also just gave a big suck to the hydraulic reservoir again, but something I noted when I was under here measuring things is what looks to be an 8mm socket. It is just randomly on the bottom of this thing, and how much you want to bet that's what holds this thing to the fucking pump? Oh, no. Well, yes, but tightening it did not achieve the results I was hoping for, I don't think. I'll just crank it till it snaps. Is this any less loose? No. So, okay, that did not do what I thought it would do. Shit. Well, anyway, I'm going to pour some ATF plus 3 in it now, which is probably older than I am, but it should be brand new, as far as I know. If we do this enough, we'll de facto flush the thing. Fuck. You didn't see that. Future me, cut that out. Alright, well, it looks like a war zone under there, but that should be better. And like I said, we put a couple gallons through this, and it'll be... Oh, look at that fucking cover. Snazzy. And, it'll be flushed by the time we're done with it, that and throwing a new cylinder on there. And, of course, if we pull that cylinder off, I'll just run fluid through the lines until it comes out looking clear, and, then the system will be, in fact, flushed. You just get to live in there now. Alright, so I managed to pick up these two suckers from the auto parts store for like $15, and I should have just fucking used this, but anyway, it's full of rust. You don't want. I'm not using that for a fuel pickup. So my thought here is this is a nylon to steel connector. So I'm just gonna put some steel on one end and some nylon or something else on the other end and make myself a something on the top. I'm gonna make it work, but really I just picked these up because it was $9 for a 3-pack. I mean, the next best thing was like $18 for a single fitting. So that's what Advance got me, and probably gonna have to replace one of these nuts to do something. I don't quite know how this steel locks. It looks like it's got an offset hole that must crimp the brass and make it seal or something. I don't know how it works, but I'm basically going to take this sucker, cut one of these ends off to be the correct length, put that into there, and then this will be our standoff at the bottom, and I'll just make sure that that sucker is sitting, yay high above it. And theoretically I could just get a actual fitting for this end to mount into that, but I already bought the parts, so we're gonna wing it. We'll see. I have to cut one end off anyway. It's taller than the fuel tank, so that should hopefully get us there in some way, shape, and form. Well, by sheer coincidence, this random 5/16 piece of brake line I picked up is literally the perfect size, so I don't even have to cut this thing. All I've got to do is just figure out a way to attach this to the thing I've got. I mean, hell, honestly, if I could just find I could drill a hole in a piece of plate and run this through and just run a bolt straight down onto that. And, well, I wouldn't have a way to mount anything onto the end of it, but, hell, if I could get some sort of, shit, I could probably just go buy like a 5/16 fuel line coupler, take that other scungy piece I've got and just ignore those brass fittings I have, run this straight up through a plate, mount the coupler to it, run it flush, tighten it, and then have that connected. Shit, I might be able to do all this with off-the-shelf parts. All I need now is a 5/16 brake line coupler. I think we're golden. All right, you know I'm working on somebody else's machine for money when I'm actually using a drill press and center punching holes. But I think that with a little bit of cleanup work on these points, just to round them out, should be exactly what we need for our bolts. So for any of y'all following along at home, these are 1/4 inch holes on 1.5 inch centers. And I made this thing roughly about 2 inches wide. It can be bigger, can't be smaller. So that's 1/4 inch hole. I'm gonna have to find some roofing screws and strip the grommets off of those to seal these. In the center, I did 15-30 seconds, which is just slightly smaller than this, but because it's aluminum, I think I can actually screw one of these guys down into there, and if not, then I'll just take a 1/2 inch drill bit, drill it to 1/2 inch, but this is 1/2 inch diameter. It just doesn't have much of a, flange on that to seal to, so I'll have to put some kind of washer in there. So ideally, I just want it to seal to this thing and me to be able to shmoo around it. So that's the goal. I'll just deburr this real quick. So I'll just deburr this center hole real quick. I already deburred the other ones. Clean up these corners, and that'll be the plate. And all I need is that coupler, and we can send this damn thing. All right, well, with a little bit of hacksaw and file work, there we go. It's a finished plate. All I need to do now is just paint it black and cut a gasket and figure out the coupling thing, and that's it. Wow, this thing's gonna look slick. Well, just like that, I cut out a cork gasket, found myself a big old washer, tap this thing with the drill press, and there we go. There's the standoff, ready to go. All I gotta do is get that coupler for up here for connecting those two together and getting all that flush. My only concern there now is whatever I put up here has to seal to that, and I guess it has to seal to this plate, so I'm gonna have to get an O-ring. I think I've got a pile of O-rings down here, so one of these should work. That or more cork. And yeah, that's it. That'll seal to the top of the tank, and then I just have to make sure that this seals to whatever's up here, this guy. So, need to get this flange to seal to this flare nut, and then that bolt to this. And it'll be airtight. I mean, theoretically, hopefully, ideally. The only thing is, though, that, this can slide. So whatever I put on there, I'm probably going to have to trim so that it, actually presses down on this flare right here and seals everything. And, yeah, we shall see. A little splash of paint, and we're just one step closer. Man, you ever see a CV joint look like that? Yeah, me neither. It's just out of my front drive shaft. Anyway, so I got me some 5/16 unions in, I think, Greer, South Carolina, 200 miles from the house, which is where that did those things. And then I drove 240 miles back, and, yeah. I got 2 of these, so that's good. That means I get one chance to screw up. But with any luck, all right, be able to do that. I think just a skosh of movement. I think I can just take that thing and just pop it on the belt sander, and just shave off a 1/16 of an inch, and maybe 3/32 of an inch, and that'll be perfect to get this thing flush. Honestly, it's like the thickness of that washer I put on there, but I need the washer on there. And yeah, and I should just be able to, oh yeah, that'll do it. I think we're there. Alrighty, so here's my harebrained idea. I found a 1/2 by 20 plug, stuck that in the top, because that was small enough to then put into this chuck. And then I've got this drill press set to its lowest speed. And then I've got this plate set exactly, well, not exactly, about a 1/16 of an inch from the bottom. And then got a piece of 120 grit sandpaper. And I'm thinking we just affix this here and then just turn the drill press on and just center down, and we just move this around until it stops sanding. And when it stops sanding, it'll be perfectly flat, and then we can just deburr the inside. And that, I hope, should be all we need. Perfectly flat, perfectly level, perfectly milled down the exact amount I need. And we'll see if that works. All right, so apart from the drill press refusing to actually stay concentric on the thing, so the thing not being flush, and me taking an extra 1/16 of an inch off to make sure I could bottom the thing out, it's perfect. Because, well, it's sealing in here anyway, so this seal is only as good as, you know, cork on washer is, and then this seal is, you know, brass press fit steel. So all we got to do is just bend this into a pickup, bolt it on, and that's it. Well, as is tradition, I went to bend the pipe, and it ripped the pipe in half. So that's interesting. I guess I'm just gonna flare that back out, and we will have a vertical pickup then. All right, so I managed to find the pipe flarer, which doesn't double flare, just single flares, and managed to sand that down and flare it. And I gotta clean that burr out of there, and I'm hoping that fits under the seat. It's a lot taller than I want, but well, it's gonna just that's all I gotta do. Just fill a hose on you. That's all I got. Please. All right, so looking at this thing, we got plenty of room. So it's not any taller than the pickup I have in there. It's just straight vertical. So I'm gonna have to replace that fuel line. Need to be replaced anyway. And I may have to, well, I'm hoping I'll be lucky, but I've got all that sealant in there. So I may have to take this flare and just cut this off at like a 45-degree angle. Don't know, we'll see. Hoping I can just drop it in there and not even have to worry about cutting that off. That'd be nice. All right, well, there we go. She's in, and we have full flow through. I mean, I blew into there and air goes through there, and I didn't hear anything hit the bottom. So we're either sitting that far off the bottom or like that. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to end up being the fuel restriction that limits this engine, is whatever this is, especially considering it's going through 1/4 inch fuel line and all of that. So whatever surface area that's got to pull fuel from the bottom of the tank is good. And honestly, the closer it gets to the bottom without reaching whatever critical threshold will starve the system of fuel at full throttle is good, because that means, you know, we're getting every last ounce out of this tank and drying it down far enough, and it's not just developing a crust of water on the bottom to rot it. But anywho, that's in. It's all piped up. Let's see if she starts up nice and ice cold. She does not like the cold weather too much. Oh, it's making that rattling noise. That's new. Oh, that's the fuel pump. It is a clicky clacky. It's just a little baby clicky clacky. Never heard it run before. But it hasn't died yet, so I assume the fuel pickup is no longer whatever ails this thing. So, with that being said, the only thing left is figuring out that hydraulic piston. So I think today what I'm going to do is disconnect this sucker and try and drain out all the fluid out of here and just see what color comes back out. All right, so both of those lines are disconnected. And wasn't too bad, actually. They weren't really even on there with that much force. So I have both of them disconnected, and I've got them pointed right over this oil container. What I will do is remove these 1/4 inch vacuum plugs that are on there, keeping the fluid in, and I'll just run the hydraulic pump up or down until crystal clear blood red, that's not blood red, but basically pure, clean transmission fluid is coming out of there. And then we'll keep this thing topped off. And once all of that is clear, then we can pull the, well, we can pull the piston whenever we want. But then whenever we put the new piston back in, or rebuilt piston back in, it'll have nothing but clean fluid. And then additionally, we'll be able to see whether or not this contraption is working, because if then water gets into the system after that, I don't know where the hell it's doing it. But currently, that's it. Should be simple as. I just realized I have a red oil catch, so I won't be able to tell what color the fluid is. I guess it'll be opaque and white. So anyway, it'll work. I digress. All right, so I've taken the caps off, turn the key on, and this is the up line, because that connected there, which pushes the piston up. That's the down line. We're gonna run this thing up. I have no idea what kind of PSI this shit is gonna come out at. I should probably take this off too, so I can monitor the flow rate. And let's just hope it all stays in the thing. Oh yeah, it's got a little bit of pressure. That looks pretty damn clean now. I'm gonna say that's good for this first round of flushing. Nothing else. Let's run it down. See what kind of mung comes out. Ooh. Yeah, so there's just like schmutz all up in those. Ooh, this is gonna take a while. I'm gonna say that's pretty good. You know, there's still some water in it, but I think that's as good as we're gonna get, and that's probably good enough. Alrighty, and just like that, we have ourselves a cylinder. So, do we have any more numbers? Not there. Jesus, I got my work cut out for me. Well, she's a squirter, that's for certain. Now, most of the nasty gunk out of there, I can't really get the piston to come out any further. It's got a couple sticky spots. But the internal seals work. Because it would not be that tight otherwise. So I think all of our issues right here, but it still means we have to take everything apart. So I'll go see if I have a spanner, and if we can clean this thing up and crack her open. All right, so wire wheeled and cleaned this sucker, and there's no more stampings. I don't know what this thing is. I guess I'll have to Google it. I don't know if that's like a bypass valve or something, probably. And it looks like it's got an aluminum fitting up here. It's a 2-post spanner rather than a claw one. And someone's already been in here with some kind of something. So yeah, my pipe wrench looks like that at the moment, so I need to fix that first. But I think we're gonna try and bust in there and just see what the hell we're in for. All right, so I got that guy out. It's actually kind of like a lock ring. So it hooks into here, and then you just spin it, and then it rotates into place. And so it functions basically the same way like an E-clip or a C-clip would work, but kind of cool. I just spun this thing with a pipe wrench to get it off. This is definitely aluminum because it chewed the fuck out of it. And I kept spinning it, and nothing happens. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I guess I'm just supposed to pull on this until it fucking yanks out or something. But the seal is all swole up in here, and she don't come out anymore. It opened, I guess, when it had the oil on it, it came out. Now it don't. So don't really know what to do about that. I'll probably just hit it with a big hammer. Well, with some grunting, some groaning, some stressing, and some straining, and a little bit of violence, we got the thing apart. So this guy down here, bottom piston stack, I think is perfectly fine. I mean, well, no, there's a big fucking nick in that O-ring. I don't know if that was like that before, or if that was from me shredding this thing out of here. But, no, that's good. So the whole thing needs to be rebuilt. Doesn't appear to be a whole lot of actual seals in need of work. You know, got this chrome issue here, but, you know, price-wise, if I can find the right rebuild kit, then it's worth doing. Wasn't too much more schmutz in here. It's gonna slowly drain out of there. I'm gonna clean those fittings. I think I'm gonna try and dynamite this off real quick. just so we can slide that whole stack off of there and just see what we're dealing with. All right, well, that came apart. It's only on there with like 800 foot-pounds or something. I just put a wrench on it, tapped the wrench with a hammer, and started moving. So this guy, still in good shape, apart from, you know, that nick we saw. And this O-ring down here in the middle seems to be fine. But here's your problem. That'll do it. So if I could just find these inner doohickeys, the scrapers, seals, whatever you want to call them, I could just replace those and put it all back together and it would be good enough. So I'm going to go see what I can see what I can find. Maybe if I'm lucky, we can get some sort of generic rebuild kit or some stack of seals or something for 20 bucks and throw them in there and see what the hell happens. All right, so I have not had any luck, nor have I really had any time to actually find a rebuild kit for this thing just from looking. So I'm going to mic out everything and get the like dimensions for every single part and see if I can like build my own kit. Yeah, I'm kind of SOL as far as the wipes go. On the inside of here, all I can really get is their like width. That's it. But everything else seems to be a pretty damn standard size. Like this just looks to be like an 1/8 inch by like 1.5 O-ring. I mic'd it out. The bore's exactly 1.5. The shaft's exactly 1 inch. And that peg right there on the end, the threaded bit, is exactly 1/2 inch. So I have a feeling these are probably very standard sizes and that I should be able to pick these up without any issue at all. So I'm going to pick out all the O-rings, mic them, and hopefully I can run down to the hydraulic shop in town tomorrow and just pick everything up from in there, or they'll tell me to fuck off and then I'll buy stuff off Amazon. Okie dokie. So last night I painstakingly took everything apart and mic'd out and measured everything, and thankfully we have a fairly, you know, common set of seals here. These two round O-rings are the same size. They're 1.5 inch OD with an 1/8 inch wall, and then all three of these backup O-rings are all identical. They're all 1.5 inch OD, 1/8 inch wide wall, and they're 3/64 thick. So these two are the same. These three are all the same, and then this is a 5/8 OD, 1/16 wall O-ring. Fairly simple, and I mic'd out the actual wiper and rod seal as best as I could, and I've got everything written down here. So if by some miracle you have the exact same cylinder, these are all the seals that you need, roughly. They're the dimensions, so you can find that stuff. I found one seal kit online that has like everything except for these seals on the outside of this guy, from what I could tell. But I just can't tell if the wipes are right. It's 22 bucks. That was my second option, but I took this thing into town to the local hydraulic shop, and they did me an amazing solid. So if you're ever south of Charleston, need hydraulic work done, highly recommend East Coast Hydraulics. They hooked me up. They're not in the business of selling seals, but he still gave me the time of day and went on his lunch break and went and found me a handful of seals. Didn't even charge me for it. So thank you, Junior. But those are all the seals I need. I only got one of each because after I realized he wasn't going to charge me for anything, I couldn't ask him for more seals after I forgot to ask him for more than one of each. So we've just got one of the backups and one of the actual O-rings. So I will replace the ones on the piston with that, and I'll just reuse the ones from the gland because, well, they're fine. It looks like someone's been in here semi-recently. I mean, they're still fairly soft. So those will go back on, but I've got a replacement for this. One of these will go back on. One of these was torn. So whichever one of these was the messed up one will go in the dump. This will go in the dump because it's got a nick in it. So we'll replace those two. This one because it's shredded. And I've got the wipe and the rod seal that I need. So I just have to figure out how the hell to install those. Get them in there. Figure out what do I need to do to bleed one of these. I guess I don't really need to. And yeah, we'll figure it out, get it back together, and hopefully I can get this thing out of my garage today. Well, this weekend, but I'll have everything done today. Alrighty, and just like that, we got everything back together. So time to just lube everything up and hope everything slides back together without too much pain and misery. And just like that, I got the whole thing back together. Didn't take too much effort. May not be perfect, might still leak a little bit. I took like an absolute, I don't even know if I can find it, a feather off the side of the rod seal when I put it back together. There's not a chamfer on the bottom of the rod itself, so it just had a hard lip, and it just took like just an absolute wafer off of the rod seal, which is not great, but it's just the rod seal. It's not the actual piston seal. The wiper seems to be working all right. It's much better than it was before I took the damn thing apart. So I'm hoping this thing will be fine. We shall see. I mean, it's got, let's be real, it's got that going on. So taking a whiff of the rod seal ain't gonna matter too much. That thing was a little bit on the petrified side. I don't think they'd use them in a hot minute. It fought me going in. It was pretty stiff. So what can I say? It was a free seal, so if it doesn't work and it starts pissing fluid everywhere, which I don't think it's going to, I think it'll be fine for these needs. If it just leaks a little bit, I'm not going to worry too much about it. All right, so I got the Merc out of the way, got the Mule back over here. Apparently all I got to do is just cycle this thing to lock 3 or 4 times, and it should self-bleed. And if it doesn't, then, well, we'll bleed it. But yeah, I'm just gonna hook this thing back in and see what the hell happens, and hopefully we don't have any seal leaks that were worse than before. All I've put into this is time and some, hydraulic fluid I didn't pay anything for, and some seals I didn't pay anything for. So even if this fucks up, it's no additional charge to my customer. I use that in quotes, customer, the fella I'm helping. It's not really, anyway. I'm not an actual business, but anyway, I'm gonna put this thing back in there and just hope that I'm done. Knock on wood. All right, so we've got both lines hooked back up. Got the cap off of the reservoir, both lines. Got both pins reconnected. Cotter pins flared, which is probably bad luck to flare the cotter pins without actually testing it, but I'm just gonna lift up and just set this thing down, see if it sets down on its own strength, see if I can pick it up on its own strength. And as soon as it feels like it's doing something funny, we're just going to start cycling the piston, and we're going to do that 3 or 4 times, probably 6 or 7, just because of OCD. It should bleed all the air out. We'll keep the reservoir topped off, and hopefully that'll be the end of it. We'll just see what happens. Oh, there's definitely air in there. All right, we're not pissing anything out of there yet. Probably shouldn't be sticking my hand under here. All right, probably shouldn't do that anymore. I'm just gonna top this up while I'm thinking about it. You are in real time watching a man who has never worked on a hydraulic system work on a hydraulic system. So just a skosh nervous. All right, that's 1 full cycle. Some not nice noises. All the little bits of water that are still in there are being found, but it'll be fine. I'm gonna have to decant a bit here. All right, so I flushed about 2.5 quarts of fluid through this, refilled it because it kept coming out this nasty pink-white color, but it makes this horrid noise now when going down for about half of the distance, and then it just stops making that noise eventually. Or it won't. There it goes. The up's fine, but for whatever reason, the downstroke just is making a ruckus. I don't know why, but I think the pump's dying because it kind of smells like a electrical fire sometimes. So yeah, I'm gonna quit pushing my luck and say that it's done, and we're gonna put my little rain cover back over it, nice and cozy, and wheel this thing on the grass so this rain can clean all this fucking ATF off of my damn concrete. Now I'm gonna finish drinking my Pabst Blue Ribbon. All right, I think it's time to call this a job well done. So we're gonna load this thing up, send it on back, and hopefully this is the last I ever see of it, unless I end up, getting the thing at a discount for sale at some later date. But hopefully last I see of it for now, and ideally I get paid some money. So if you enjoyed this escapade here with the Kawasaki Gator Mule, then consider giving the video a like, comment, tell me if you understand why someone would butcher a mule to make it look like a gator, because I still can't quite wrap my head around it. And if you want to see more work on this mule, then I don't know, subscribe if you want to, but I'm probably never going to work on this thing. But if you want to see me work on that thing, or that thing, or that thing, then smash the gray button down there, because you'll be seeing some of that here in the near future. And till next time, I'm out.